We are back again with another State of the Franchise episode. We got questions to ask, Jason, especially after this loss to the Chiefs. And of course, we look forward to the Rams as well. Are the San Francisco 49ers for real or are they fool's gold? We're going to find out in a little bit right after this. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. Jason, we were talking about it a little off air. You know, we find ourselves in that spot in the middle of the week where we still got to hold on to last week, and we also had the task of looking forward to next week. But before we get into that, how you doing, man? How we feeling? What's the vibes today like?
I'm good. The weather is a little weird. Usually around October, getting closer to November, it gets colder. It's about 75 degrees. So good news is global warming is still up 10 on the scoreboard, at least, similar to our San Francisco 49ers for a little bit. Like I did that, right?
I did like how you did that. I didn't like how the San Francisco 49ers were not able to hold on to that 10-point lead for very long at all. That game was that was a tough one, right? Just I was there at Levi's. The vibes were electric. Fans were ready to go. All the energy was there. That wasn't the problem. It was just I think it comes down to the play and execution on the field. I mean, what's your takeaway of why the 49ers seemingly struggled so much against Kansas City Chiefs?
Well, I guess the good news is that there's no singular thing that you can point to and that we'll just be hammering. At least we can
Right.
say, hey, it was everything. So at least it's
Everyone
that.
struggled.
Everyone had a part in this one, took a total team effort for this one to come out this way. So we won't be hammering one player, one side of the ball, anything like that. At least for this week, we have those. But it's the same questions after every single loss. Every single loss really boils down to the same things over and over. And it boils down to execution, undisciplined play. Can the offense score more points? So we're right here back in the same place. I mean, it's been the same discussion after wins, the same exact thing. But yeah, it was just disheartening to look. Losing to the Chiefs is fine. And what I mean by that is nobody would have batted an eye if the 49ers played a competitive game all the way down to the wire and the Chiefs just made one or two more plays at the end of the game. And you said, you know what? Team fought hard because this was always going to be, is this team ready if there is a chance that you wind up facing this type of caliber of team in a Super Bowl? But that litmus test was failed, like absolutely failed. And at least for this week and this current state of the team, they're not ready for that stage just yet. Doesn't mean that they won't be. But right now, after that game, you can't look at this team and say, yeah, they're ready to go with these other teams. That the hierarchy is the AFC, and then there's a few teams in the NFC, but the 49ers right now in week 7 are not on that level, unfortunately.
Yeah, you said it. We talked about it all week. This is a measuring stick game. You know, the schedule up until this point has been it's on the lower end when you look at the teams that they played, even the teams that they've lost to up until this point. So this felt like, okay, we have an opportunity to see what this team really looks like against elite coaching, elite quarterback play. And let's face it, the Chiefs have a pretty damn good defense. They have some good pieces over there. So it was a great opportunity to see how this team actually matched up against a good opponent, and they just fell flat. I mean, started out looking good. You had the touchdown drive, and then they scored 3 points. But after that, mistakes, penalties, and anything you could think of seemingly went wrong. I guess let's start with the offensive side. What was some of your biggest concerns from the offense in this game?
You can't beat the Chiefs with field goals. And the offense, as usual, was able to move the ball into scoring territory, but weren't able to capitalize. Some of that's execution. Some of that is poor decisions by the quarterback. Some of that is just penalties. I mean, I think really when you sum up what the offense was, it's that sequence right before the half in which they're getting ready to line up for a field goal. Jalen Moore goes and commits a false start penalty on just a line shift. The Chiefs did nothing but shift the line and just kick their back leg out, and he jumped. Okay, so now it's a punt. Okay, You punt the ball down to the 5, you get the ball, right? So now you
Mitch Wish
got
knuckleball.
yeah, well, do it every single time. I don't know why you selectively use it. Like, that's the weirdest narrative I've ever heard in my life. Well, he made him fumble. Make everybody fumble, Mitch. Everybody, if you have that power, stop lying to everybody. But Sky Moore did his damnedest to keep the 49ers in this game.
Yeah.
And, you have a red zone opportunity right there where you figure this is the chance for the 49ers to at least see some momentum going in, as you know they weren't going to get the ball back. And then one play for Christian McCaffrey, another pass close enough, and then just Jimmy Garoppolo, throw the ball away, dude. If you're not going to pre-snap read that Jeff Wilson is your hot on a play that you've hit to him in 2019, literally the same exact play, just flipped the other way. That is so concerning on so many levels that you can kick away an opportunity in that way.
I'm not an NFL quarterback. I'm not going to pretend like I played the quarterback position. I was an O-line guy. I paid attention to the trenches, leverage, things like that. But when we were watching the tape, you can see the pre-snap motion. You can see the safety follow him. They already had another guy overloaded on that side, and then they're stacked, right? You have 3 to the left. Each one is in man. You have the cornerback that was already on that left side.
The Chiefs didn't even try to disguise it.
He started creeping. He literally started like hopping over, and it's like, to me, I'm like, first of all, you see the safety follow Kyle Juszczyk across the formation. You're like, okay, we're at least in man, right? That's the first indication. Second indication is, well, there's already a guy over here. Is he going to be blitzing off the edge? So that should be what, second pre-snap alert? And so you should have in your back pocket, right? Okay, if they're going to blitz, that means there's going to be a free man. Who's my free man in that situation? Likely going to be the running back, because they're bringing a nickel or a linebacker, right? So I think that's when we take a step back. That's just part of the concerns that we've always had when it comes to Jimmy Garoppolo. It's like pre-snap, post-snap, what are you seeing? How are you seeing it? And how do you land on throwing off your back foot sky high into the middle of the air for someone to pick off?
Yeah, and I'm not here to criticize Jimmy Garoppolo. He is what he is, but what concerns me is you literally had the same exact look against Arizona in 2019, where it was cover 0. They were coming for you, and you were able to get that ball out for the game winner to Jeff Wilson. Why were you
Guess
able
who was
to notice
open
it?
again?
Yeah, like, why were you able to notice it then, and what happened this time? Like again, you said you identified man. They were not disguising it. They were literally telling you, and everybody in the stadium
They
watching.
brought Bolton up right over the center. They brought they were not at, like, it could have been a disguise pre-snap, but the second you see all those Kansas City Chiefs helmets bearing down at you, right? It's almost like, all right, we go straight to our hot, like,
Yeah,
because
get
that
to
means
your hot.
someone's open.
And that's why, like, again, I'm not trying to talk down on anybody, but people are like, well, you didn't have time to get to his read. The read was before the blitz happens. It's
It's a post-snap
before,
read.
right,
Or pre-snap
before
read, excuse me.
pre-snap read, before you hike the ball.
Yeah, you should
That's
know.
your
You should be
read.
alerted.
You should say, I'm not going to have time to go through progressions. What's my hot? And that's a little bit of the part where, Kyle Shanahan, obviously we're going to talk about him, but I've seen people, well, I hate that play call. Why? The answer to the test was, it's an open book test. It's right there in the play call. Like, the answers are always there. They're always there. Now, whether they get hit is something completely different. But I'm not here to, like, I don't want to discuss what Jimmy Garoppolo is and what he isn't. He's a quarterback. That's it. It was a missed opportunity. That's fine. But
I don't think we're surprised by the play.
No. I was just like, well, there it is. But it was just, it was more indicative of where this team was right now and how badly they needed that, and how you cannot take field goals, botch red zone opportunities, and turn the ball over in the red zone. It's insane. If Jimmy Garoppolo throws that through the upright and they get 3, I don't even know if that's going to be enough to overcome the Chiefs. But you feel a hell of a lot better than that momentum killer that was just throwing up a jump ball in the red zone to in between Ray McCloud and George Kittle. I mean, they gave the attempt to George Kittle, but I mean, Ray McCloud could have thought that ball was going to him too as well. So all of those things were compounded one on top of the other, and it was just a large indication of where this offense is and why they are not clicking as of right now.
Right, and at that point, the 49ers, they were only down 1 point. I believe it was 14-13 in the game. It was before half, and they received a gift after the interception, because Patrick Mahomes marches down the field. He throws a touchdown, but it's negated because Jet McKinnon goes low on Nick Bosa, takes the touchdown off the board, and then they miss the field goal going to halftime 14-13.
You
Like,
know, I love
what a
kickers missing field goals.
what a swing, man. Like,
Yeah.
just what a swing to then also come out of half, give up a massive gain, and then Jawan Jennings pushes the kicker out of bounds. And I was like eye level with like where that play happened. And I just yelled, Jawan. I was like, what are we doing? Like, come on, man.
I don't understand that portion of it. And that's the part that we should get into about being undisciplined, man. Like, this special teams unit was supposed to be improved. It hasn't been. You know, you would think that Richard Hightower was here. You would have thought that they were going to be improved. They're not. They've had one punt return by Ray McCloud in Atlanta that was a little bit good. They've got blocked field goals. They're still allowing long returns. And then just Jawan Jennings, what are you doing? I mean, look, I'm not here to bash any players, but Jawan Jennings is struggling this year. He's dropping passes. Now he's penalizing himself. He's got to get it going. I don't think he's taken the step that a lot of 49er fans would have hoped for. You know, in this,
I thought he was going to take a big step.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, to see that it's silly. Isaiah Pacheco, Rutgers legend, New Jersey, by the way, running down the sideline for about, on the sideline for about 5-6 yards. Jawan Jennings, what are you doing? What are you doing, man? Like, you can be frustrated. That's fine.
Yeah.
Get disciplined, man. Everybody, and it's not just him. Charles Omenihu had a third down that extended a drive. 3rd and 20, you can't get off the field on a Jet McKinnon screen. That screen pass was just to give Butker an easier kick, not convert. Oh gosh. The over aggressiveness, guys overshooting their gaps, not playing their keys, not staying disciplined. All of this is intertwined, and unfortunately, if you have to ask why a team is undisciplined, you got to start with the head coach, and you have to ask the head coach. Of course, coach said, it's about, stopping the, continuing to work, and, there's no magic answer. I love that. There's no magic answer. Well, what's the answer? What are you going to do? How do you stop this?
The answer that we've heard, it's practice. They got to figure it out in practice, but again, what does that mean?
There's no magical answer to it, and we got a bunch of guys in there that we, all right, coach, all right, bro, like, come on, man. Like, at what point do you get mad, get upset, get in somebody's face? But again, it goes back to, one guy makes a mistake, shadow realm, doghouse. One guy makes a mistake, whatever, run him back out there. It's hard to understand what's going on with this team right now. So look, it's not like push the panic button, but it's week 7 and we keep asking these same questions. It's something's got to change.
Yeah, we've been asking these questions for a while. I remember we were talking about it, I think last year when it was Josh Norman getting trotted out there time after time. It's like, what did Josh Norman do that Brandon Ayuk did? Like, Brandon Ayuk's in the doghouse over here. Josh Norman has a free pass. We're like, what the hell's going on here, man? Like, what? So I think you made a seamless transition into Kyle Shanahan, because obviously both you and I, we have high levels of respect for coach, and we think he is good at what he does. But this week and this year, I do think he's opened the door for critiques, for questions, for what is the plan? What is the future? What is now? And why do we seemingly keep repeating similar mistakes? And I think that's part of the thing when we take a step back of when we look at this team, are they real or are they fool's gold? I think when we look at the roster, we're like this, they have real roster. They have D'Amico Ryans. They have Kyle Shanahan. They should be real, right? They should be competing at an extremely high level. But that game against the Chiefs, and again, you can pull parallels to last season. They were 3-4 last season. It's 3-5 heading into Chicago. Like, and we've seen some bad games. Like, we saw them get dismantled by Colt McCoy. Like, so it's not out of the realm that they've been in a bad spot and can pull themselves out. And I still think that's where we are. But it is frustrating, right? Going into year 6, and it feels like we're still talking about the same issues.
I take it a step further. It's 7 weeks, and we're talking about the same things over and over again, right? And look, if a 49er fan wants to say, "Hey, look what they did last year. They were able to get it together." I'm with you. Like if that helps you take solace, I'm with you. Why does it always have to get to like rock bottom before something happens? I think that's the better question is, can we get out of the gates fast, aside from 2019, right? Can we get out of the gates fast? Can we execute immediately, right? Like this is largely the same group that you've had year after year. So look, I think you hit on a perfect point. Coach Shanahan is not above reproach or criticism. Let me be clear. Let me also be clear. I do not want Kyle Shanahan fired. Having said that, there are these questions that are popping up, and we continue to repeat them. Here we are again, week 7, talking about the same exact things over and over. Lack of execution, missing blocks, penalties, just undisciplined play all around, right? So I do want to give credit to the Kansas City Chiefs also. Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo put on a masterclass. Both of them. They did. And it's like, listen, man, you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, yes, shot ourselves in the foot, all of those things, whatever it is that we've been saying, while also giving credit to the fact that Andy Reid's really good at what he does. And so is Steve Spagnuolo, who, again, we talked about PTSD, was a defensive coordinator in 2019 as well, too, in the Super Bowl. So he's got an idea of what to do to kind of slow down this offense. And you have to give them credit. But at the same time, coach isn't above criticism. I'm not saying he needs to be fired. But I mean, again, we're not going to get this answer, but what's the plan? And why does it take this team 6 weeks, 3-4, 3-5 to get out of it? Last year, what we were talking about around this time was 3-5 Rams. Funny how the Rams are always right there as the team that this team needs to get right against.
Right.
3-5, needing a shot in the arm on the offense. Well, what do? They turn Debo into a wide back, and it worked. There's no explosive plays on the offense right now. Now, you're kind of hoping that Christian McCaffrey is that. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but and this is just my opinion because I'm not a doctor. Debo Samuel didn't practice today. It's a hamstring. There's a bye week next week. I don't think he's going to play in this game. And if the 49ers was smart and thinking down the line, I don't think you rush him through this game. So
I don't think he looked as explosive against the Chiefs either. I think
Right.
you looked like he was a gear down too. So
Yeah.
he could have been playing through it already.
So is Christian McCaffrey the shot in the arm? And to be clear, Christian McCaffrey was one of the 3 bright spots in this game, man.
We're 20 minutes in almost, and we haven't even mentioned his name. That's the first time we brought him up.
I mean, look, he had limited time, but he still had that burst, and he looks like a guy who's even shocked that he's in this much space because the defense can't key in on him, which is going to be crucial going down the stretch. So now Christian McCaffrey gets a whole week. He's literally coming off 2 weeks ago, 158 total yards against the Rams in SoFi, when he was the focal point of their defense, when PJ Walker was their quarterback. That offense is largely bad. So he still got it, and he can still be that spark. But why do we have to wait until it's 3-4, 3-5 for a drastic change to happen, not only just offensively, but discipline-wise? And I'm not going to hold you and tell you I know what to do or this is what they should do. Something needs to change. I mean, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and asking for different results. So at this point, Coach Shanahan, what are you going to do, bro? What are you going to do? How do you fix it?
Man, all I can do is take a big, deep breath in, let it out, count to 3, because this team can be really frustrating at times because it then comes back to like, well, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be Jimmy Garoppolo, and it's like
probably the only thing that's consistent, right?
And it's
consistent
like
as gravity.
We want him to think that he can elevate, but every time there's like this reminder that we're going to get these types of games. Like, I don't think it was, again, all on Jimmy. I don't think it was all on the offensive line. I think the offensive line played a lot better than a lot of people have made it seem. I know in real time it felt bad. I was watching in real time. I was like, oh, it feels like the offensive line is getting worked. But I went back and watched, and I'm like, actually, wasn't all that bad. Plays were there to be made, but you got to complete the passes. You gotta do the execution part of it. You got to not put yourself in bad positions by penalties and holdings and false starts and things like that. And of course, you're always going to look at the head coach, the offensive coordinator, who happen to be the same person, and it's going to be a trickle down effect from there. So how do they get this back on track? It starts with Kyle. Starts with Kyle, then goes to Jimmy, and those two again, like we said, I think earlier in the year, this year's going to hinge on those two. They got to figure this out, and you're not going to have days where the defense is going to be perfect all the time. And there's going to have to be opportunities where this offense has to shoulder the load. And they could have the opportunities were there, they just didn't take advantage of it. So moving forward off, kind of the offensive struggles, the defense had a lot of struggles themselves. Mecole Hardman scored 3 touchdowns.
Hope you started him in your fantasy league.
On sweep concepts. And I'm sitting there and I'm seeing him in motion. Like, I'm in the stadium. I'm like, they're going to run a sweep again. You have Dre Greenlaw shoot the A gap. Like, whoa, where's he going? And no one was keying on it. And I'm like, he scored 3 touchdowns. One was a little pop pass, but regardless, 3 touchdowns on sweep concepts.
Toying with them.
What the hell, man?
Yeah.
Make it make sense for me, please, somehow.
I love D'Amico Ryans, but he was outcoached. He was outclassed. The team came out and they were undisciplined. They didn't know their assignments. I mean, look no further than the Juju Smith-Schuster touchdown right over the middle where Fred and Gibson went with the same guy. It was supposed to be a trade-off. Didn't happen. I will say this. Mooney wasn't himself, not 100%. Yeah. Jimmy Ward needs some time to get acclimated again. Yeah, you never see Jimmy Ward get beat like that in coverage. Nick Bosa wasn't himself. What the Chiefs did was very interesting, though. They went directly at Nick Bosa. So the 49ers did to neutralize Aaron Donald in games is go right at him, right? Like, don't allow him to create something out, like force him to see the ball come towards him and try to make a play on that, as opposed to trying to beat the man in front of him where he can, get those moves off, right? So they used Nick Bosa's over-aggressiveness against him, but the missed tackles, not being in the run gaps, simple communication errors. There wasn't really many adjustments that I saw. It's fine. D'Amico Ryans is still going to be a head coach next year. This defense is going to be fine. I am less worried about this defense than anything. Chalk that one up to a game that is just, it went to hell. And that's what it is. That's it. The defense is fine. The defense is as good as advertised. But I do need apologies from the people that said that it doesn't matter if Arik Armstead is not playing. That is absolutely 100% false. 100% false. They are running right through the middle of this defense right now. They are. I don't want to hear it anymore about, well, this many pressures and this is, there's more to the game than just whatever comes up in the box score. If you are a constant presence, if you are forcing guys to move into a place where there's another defender because you're occupying space, there is no stat for that.
To force double teams. That needs to be a thing.
There is no stat for that. There's no stat for forced runner into a defender. There is no stat for that. So when you cite pressures, when you cite sacks at times to evaluate players without knowing their role, that's the part that bugs the hell out of me. Imagine thinking that Arik Armstead doesn't matter to this team. So, I mean, what I fear is that it's a Liz Frank injury for Arik Armstead. That's something that he's such a big man. He's going to be dealing with all year in one way or another. Now, what that means is maybe it's going to be no practice all week, or he's got to manage his snaps, whatever it is. I don't think he's going to be right this year. So you've got to find a way to fix that, right? Seen a lot of people throw out Ndamukong Suh and other people. Okay, I like it. Maybe you can do that. You can sign somebody. But in the meantime, at least for this game, the 49ers were just a step short, a day late, a dollar short, whatever it is that you want to call, on almost everything at this point. They literally got the turnover early in the game. They had a 3rd and 15 that was a long bomb to Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Mooney Ward sits at the sticks, and MVS runs right by him. 3rd and 20, you can't get off the field. Missing tackles, blowing coverages. I mean, Dre Greenlaw got injured in this one. Mooney was in and out. I mean, like, there's so
I think
many
Hufanga
things.
got banged up. I think he was playing through injury, throughout the day.
So guys are slowly getting themselves back. That's why if you can find a way to pull off this game on Sunday, and you get a week off to not only retool the offense and retool this team and kind of fix it, just get healthy. Just get healthy. Like, get guys closer to 100%. And that's why I am less worried about the defense than I am anything. It's still my biggest concerns are the undisciplined play, which will bite you when you face better teams, and the offense for me.
Yeah, and I agree because I think we can look at the defense. They've been one of the best, if not the best defense throughout the first 6 weeks of the year. They got decimated by injuries in Atlanta, and they're trying to get healthy. And some of the guys, like you said, Mooney Ward, groin injury is no joke for a cornerback. I mean, let's face it, they make their money with their hips. And if you don't have that ability to explode, in and out of your breaks and things like that, and be able to swivel your hips on a dime, like you're going to be in trouble, and or you're going to be thinking about it too much, or whatever it is. So I agree. I think D'Amico's going to be fine. I think that defense is going to be fine, especially when they get healthy and they get their guys in the spot where they need to be again. Jason Verrett gets activated today off the PUP. We don't know if he will play against the Rams. Kyle said he could, but also sounds like Jason Verrett's kind of been working through some soreness the last couple of weeks. So we'll see. I don't imagine they're going to rush him back. And of course, they have the bye week. So could be an opportunity where we do see Verrett or we don't. I'm not going to be surprised by either one of those. Eric Armstead, not trending in the right direction. He's been hurt since training camp. It's been ongoing for the entirety of the year. We don't know. Javon Kinlaw's on IR. So there's still issues there, but they still have the opportunity to get right now. They're just got a lot of guys coming back into the fold, and they happen to come back into the fold against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. So sometimes it's going to happen. But again, I think, if you had to ask guys like Brandon Ayuk, who said to the media after the game, I think even George Kittle mentioned something like, there's too many weapons on this offense. There's
2 weeks
just
in a
too
row,
many
Kittle said something.
weapons.
2 weeks in a row. Kittle's very low key when he talks
Oh,
about
he
things.
does. He does not say nothing because he knows better. But is that a sign of frustration?
Yeah,
For the
100%.
offense, skill
100%.
players.
100%. They're all frustrated. 23 points. They know you leave points on the field with the field goals, the interceptions. They know they're frustrated, and that's exactly what Ayuk said. We've got too many guys, and then Kittle named everybody. He's like, it's me, it's McCaffrey, it's Ayuk, it's Debo, it's Jawan. Like, we've got too many guys. And then he said something that I thought was kind of interesting. Just seems like they couldn't put the ball in our hands. That's an abstract statement, and depending on whatever narrative you want to run with and who he's talking about, that's up to you. But I think
if I go off the tape, I would imagine I could connect those dots pretty easily because you're throwing balls into the turf.
I'm staying away from
or
it.
too high.
I'm staying. I'm done. I don't want any part. I don't want any part of dissecting that. I am going to completely stay away from that. But I do think that it's interesting that it's 2 weeks in a row now that Kittle's saying something. Even Brandon Ayuk is saying it. So yes, the frustration is building, and it's building from inside the building. So again, hang your hat on last year. That's fine. I hear you. And I still think that this team will figure it out. They are too talented to allow this to continue. They're too talented, right? But why does it always have to come down to this? Why do we have to look back and say, well, last year they did this and this? It's okay. We could do it
2019, but you go back to 2019, like, well, they're really that good in 2019 offensively, or were they just getting by?
Just come on. Why can't you come out of the gates and win a few games like 2019? Like, why can't that happen? I do want to throw something out at you. And if I'm crazy, just throw it back and say, Jay, shut the hell up. And I will, respectfully. How much of this, and I understand this offense is what's been run, and this is the reason that they wanted to turn it over to Trey Lance, but all offseason and all training camp, they're making this transition to this new offense, and then you're like, here we two, and then you got to double back and get right back to it. And how much of that, especially for the guys that have not played here, Burford, Banks, Brendel, right, like those three, are learning this new stuff after they spent the whole offseason learning whatever it is that was going to happen with Trey Lance, which is a completely different offense. I understand, all the other guys have run it. I get that. Makes sense. But do you think that that's as easy as all like, oh, well, you know what? Just remember the stuff that we went from last year. Like, just let's go run it right back again. Like, we'll be fine with that. Like, I do think there's a little bit in play with that as well, too, that it's not as easy as all like, oh, snap your fingers, get back in the playbook from last year and let's go do it. I don't know.
Well, my take is for the offensive line, blocking's blocking. gap schemes, zone is zone,
Mhm,
whether it's zone read behind you, whether it's ISO behind you. For the most part, it's kind of the same concepts. So I would say the biggest things are probably pass protection,
mhm,
like depth of drop for the quarterback. Jimmy's depth is much more shallow than Trey Lance. Trey Lance tends to go about a yard deeper than
mhm.
Jimmy. So there are some issues that come from the O line with pass protection. Um, but I feel like again, Jimmy's been here for a long time. And even though Banks, is running with the second team, Burford is a rookie, Brendel was running with the second team last year, and they're getting their first ops. Trent Williams has been here, McGlinchey's been here.
Trent wasn't right
Miles,
either,
yeah, I agree.
and neither was, and I don't think Mike was either. I think Mike is working his way back as well too. So I
Yeah, I
mean,
think they're gutting it through for sure.
right. Mhm,
But I still think from a schematic standpoint, not a whole lot changes going from Trey to because even when they're running, let's say quarterback power up front, it's still power.
mhm.
It's still trap, it's still counter Trey. So maybe a little bit, but I would say at this stage, maybe to begin, I think maybe like week 3, week 4, definitely. But I think with, now over a month in with Jimmy Garoppolo in the scheme, I think that's where my frustration kind of comes from. It's like he's been here. This isn't a guy that you signed off the streets.
Mhm,
This is your former franchise quarterback. That again, Steve Young loves to say he was fired.
mhm.
And now he's back. Where is it just is the energy off? Is there no love
I'm
between
just trying
Jimmy and
I'm just trying.
Kyle and they're just trying to fake it until they make it? Like
I'm working through this with you as well too, right?
I
Again,
feel
like
you. I
for
feel you.
everybody that's like, well, they, Kyle's got to change his play calling. Okay, tell me how. Like, show me what. Like, if you really don't have the answer, I'm sorry, you can't like yell that stuff from like the rooftop, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's deeper than just saying, like I asked somebody on Twitter, explain to me the philosophy that what would you like. And he gave me some generic bullshit like keep it simple, stupid. I was like, oh well, that totally fixes
Mhm.
everything. I was like, completely
You
nailed it. Like,
nailed it on the
yeah,
head.
I'm like, wow, you really told me, guy. Like, can you tell me some other concepts they should be running? Can you tell me what they should be doing in different down and distances? Like, if you want to talk it, I hear you and I'm with you, but
Mm.
don't like I told him, I was like, I'm gonna ask you this question, and if you answer me generically with something that is not tactical football or practical, I am
We're
gonna end the
done.
conversation. And I was like, have a good night. That's exactly what I responded for. I was like, have a good night. I was like, just as I thought, have a good night. Like I don't want to be condescending, but you can't like be the loudest in the room talking about play calling and play callers got to get
And
fixed. Like,
literally add nothing of value to the
nothing,
conversation.
right? Like there's guys who know ball, like to the point where they know play calling, and they're like, listen, you've got to take
Yeah,
this concept and toss it out there. They're cutting it off here. A lot of
yeah.
guys are scooting up in the box to cut off these
Yeah,
slants
they're
and things like that.
reading it like they're
Right.
keyed
That's
on it. They're
fine.
not
That's
fooled
fine.
by the window dressing,
Right. Like
like
that's fine. And that's the one thing too, I think that people are losing sight of is the whole like motion thing. It's not putting linebackers in a blender anymore like it used to,
they
right?
know how
Like
to counter it now.
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So like that's the thing. It's like I'm not gonna say it's figured out because other guys are running the Shanahan system and they're fine. I mean, the Jets are like ninth in points scored, something like that.
Yeah.
Green Bay, obviously, we know why Green Bay is like that, and I can go down the list. I mean, Minnesota's 5-1, and they're running variations of it. It's the personnel that you have right now and the group that you have right now. I'm not gonna say they're figured out, but the book is out. The
Yeah.
book is out. So
Well, yeah.
yeah,
Chicago knew.
yeah,
Week 1, oh, they were all over it. Like, that
yeah.
was the big reason why the offense really struggled running the football. Some of the runs that they had was just because they overcommitted to stopping what the 49ers were trying to do, and Elijah was able to bounce it outside of that. So, it and I also too, like, after that game, like, because I was in the stadium, so I'm not watching replays, I'm not watching that type of stuff, and, I'm just in the moment and in the feel and I was like, "Oh, Kyle." I was just like, "Another Kyle game." Like, I was just like, "Come on, Kyle. Like, what are we
Mhm.
doing?" Watching the tape, honestly, the plays are there to be made. It's just feels like an execution thing. Like,
Yeah.
it feels like they're putting them in position to be successful, but is there a broader situation that, other outside forces and energies seeping in and Jimmy's unconfident to make the reads or make the decisions that I don't know. Like, again, those are the things that I don't understand. I think, someone had mentioned, the game plan. I think, like you were talking about, the game plan was trash. And I was like, I have to push back on that a little bit. Like, I really don't. I think there were plays to be made, and but they're not executing. There's penalties. They're giving up pressures, things like that, and that changes the complexion of the plan. I think the plan is there. They're just not executing it. Is really what it comes down to.
Sean the Genius McVay says, I'd like to hire Jason Aponte for Rams PR. I mean, if you guys are paying, I got a family to feed at the end of the day.
We got a couple super chats.
Yeah.
Brian says the trade for CMC is going to make or break Kyle.
That's not a bad sentiment, but it will make or break this season, at least at this point, right? Because if Christian McCaffrey can't be that shot in the arm that Debo was when he came into the backfield, then this offense might be cooked. Because I've been saying there's another gear there, but how do you hit that gear? And I do think they do need another playmaker, and I do think that that's going to alleviate some of the concerns with everybody else. You can't focus in on McCaffrey. You can't focus in on Debo. You can't focus in on Kittle. You can't focus in Ayuk. Just boils down to execution. And here we are again, week 7 saying the same thing.
And to kind of go off on CMC a little bit, I think he's going to be a nice piece.
I think so too.
I think he's really going to help that run game a lot. Elijah Mitchell gets back, Jeff Wilson. I think there's going to be a nice little rotation there. And I think once they find that rhythm, I think you're going to get the explosive play from Christian McCaffrey. You're going to also be able to have Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell on the same field at the same time, move them all over the place. I really do like Christian McCaffrey and what he offers the offense, and especially 10 touches after he showed up in the building on Friday after hopping on a plane, after getting traded. I was pretty impressed. I'm not going to lie. So I feel okay with it, and I think it will help the offense moving forward.
Yeah, they had him split out wide. Like, that's the type of stuff that he can do. It's just another guy. And again, the injury concerns that everybody's talking about. I don't think we spoke since McCaffrey's been traded.
No,
right?
Like,
okay. So here we go. Let me get into this then. The injury concerns that everybody has. Well, you just traded for an injured guy. Yeah, that injured guy. What did you guys ever watch the Panthers? Their Panthers offense was 22, 22, 22, 22, 22, 22 every single play. And anybody would probably break down. But then when you look at the injuries, they don't necessarily scare me. Like, it's not like he's coming.
It was also 22 in the run game and the pass game.
And the pass game.
He was their number one receiver and their number one running
Everything was literally right through Christian McCaffrey. Like, trust me, I'm a DJ Moore truther. Trust me, it's all Christian McCaffrey. And the injuries that he had aren't like a torn Achilles, a torn ACL. It's like a shoulder strain and a lower body like hamstring. Right. So like, I want to calm that down a little bit more too. But yeah, I mean, you're going to be able to move him around. Again, positionless football, right, Kyle Shanahan? Well, here it is. You're going to give him a whole week of it. Game plan. I do expect a heavy dose of Christian McCaffrey this week.
Definitely. Jordy says, I like Kyle Shanahan, but I feel he's too stubborn. Never winning in the fourth quarter when we're down 3 points is concerning. He seems to be too conservative. SDS. Jason, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes. And look, I don't know better than Kyle. I don't want Kyle fired. But when people ask questions, well, I mean, I wish I could sit here and educate you. Like, dude, come on. Don't condescend. I understand some of our beat writers need to understand football a little bit better from an X's and O's standpoint. That would help a ton.
It would.
But if you largely look around at the other markets, many of these beat writers don't understand X's and O's responsibilities. They're just like yelling about, wow, this guy and this guy. Oh, all right, but do you know what the concept was? Do you know like what they were doing on the backside? Like there's so many resources for anybody who really wants to dive into X's and O's. I mean, I've got books on my shelf that help me understand. I've got the Rams playbook up here. I've got the Rams offensive stuff. I've got the Packers. I've got the Niners. I've got the Browns. There's ways to learn, and literally all the resources are there. So, but it's just, Kyle, everything doesn't have to be condescending. Everything doesn't have to be, well, I'm the genius and you're just some jerk who just asked me a question. It does come off like that. I don't like when people do that on Twitter, let alone the coach of the football team, when people are asking at times very valid questions.
Yeah. And I agree with J10. I think a lot of it comes down to just rhythm and execution. And where does that come from? Practice. Like, I think that's part of the reason why we have I personally have a hard time like putting my finger on what's the problem with this team, because I see the plays, they're there to be had. But if they're not executing, if all 11 hats aren't doing their responsibilities, one guy's off, two guys are off, the whole play is shot to shit. Let's face
Yeah,
it. That's
yeah,
just how it works. And Kyle's scheme is based on being ultra perfect in regards to execution. So there's not a lot of wiggle room. It's
right,
not like a spread Chip Kelly offense
right,
where you just spread everyone out and you hand the ball off and say, go find the running lane.
right.
It's very detailed, and
The
so when everyone's not on the same page, it can look really disjointed as well.
the margin of error for this offense, because of the way it's constructed and how they get explosive plays, is razor thin.
Yes.
Razor thin.
Yes.
Razor thin. Everything. And I think it was Akash that is on the same wavelength as you. He sent out a tweet saying, when you want to have 7, 8, 9 play drives, everything has to be executed perfectly to get a
Mhm.
touchdown. And you leave yourself in this position where one little mistake can derail the entire drive. That's not a good
Or
place to
one
be.
defensive player makes a play and they
Right.
push you back or tackle
Right.
for a
And that's what
loss.
he said
You're like,
too.
"Oh."
He's like one missed block and a sack, and now you're on 2nd and 15. You're off schedule now. And now the whole
Your
plan's out of whack.
drive is done. Like, we're
It's
like, "Well, what
completely out of
plays do we have?"
you're just trying to figure out how to get back in the field goal range at this point. So yeah, I do think there is validity to that as well too. It's just the margins of error for this offense are razor thin.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. Sean, appreciate the $10 super chat. Says, "What's up, guys? This all falls on Kyle. He should have been grooming someone to take McDaniel's spot last year. He is the one that never replaced Jim. His fault. He is horrible at quarterback development and evaluation."
Sean cooking.
He's upset.
Well, I did want to address this just because I see a lot of people talking about it. Yes, you guys are right. Mike McDaniel was chefing it up. After the 49ers game, I was like, well, I'm going to watch this game intently. Like, I want to watch this game because I know this is going to be a
The
talking
Dolphins
point.
game?
Yeah. Tua's back. The Yankees are about to get swept. I was like, I have nothing else to do right now but watch this. Okay. So I did watch it and I did see it, what you guys are talking about. But one thing I want to point out to you guys is they have the personnel to really execute it. And I think what I mean by that is speed. Speed. Tyreek, Mostert. Look at Mostert. Mostert didn't lose his speed.
I try to tell everyone, man, do not
Mostert hasn't lost his
discredit
speed.
Mostert, man.
Mostert hasn't lost his speed. So yes, you tip your cap to Mike McDaniel. But when Mostert, when Tyreek wasn't there and Tua was injured and everything, that offense didn't hum in the same exact way. So yes, you give credit to Mike McDaniel. Obviously, no offense when the backup quarterback is just gonna hit the ground running. But it does have to do with Miami's personnel. Like, he built the personnel in the right way. They have the speed to get to those edges. Jeff Wilson isn't that fast. Elijah Mitchell's not that fast to do things like that.
They're
with those
both
jet
inside the
sweeps.
tackle runners.
Right. So again, I want to give credit to Mike McDaniel, but I do have to look at the personnel and say they have the personnel to execute that offense to that degree. The 49ers are missing that. They are missing that portion of it. And yeah, like Peyton said, Jalen Waddle's
Who does
pretty
that
fast.
fall on? Is that on Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, he builds the roster and he thought he could get by. But again, this year, this was supposed to be inside zone. Anthony Lynn was bringing that wrinkle. Everything was going to be in between the tackles.
A lot more gap scheme.
Now that it's not working, you don't have the personnel to execute all those other things. So you have to kind of rip that out of the playbook. So yes, hindsight's 2020. And you can look at this and say, well, Kyle built this roster and this is who they picked. But they were going to do something completely different and didn't think they'd be back here with the 2019, 2020, 2021 49ers playbook.
Oh, Sean's on the quarterback
Hey,
situation, so
go
we
for
might
it.
have to
Yeah.
transition
Go
into
for
it.
it.
He says,
Sean, shout out to Sean. I haven't
look
seen him
at
in the chat in a long time, man. Good for you, man.
look at who he likes: Nick Mullins, Matt Schaub, Cousins. No on Brady. Seriously, slow on quarterback evaluation. He pissed his script. Doesn't last 4 quarters. Kyle's garbage. Stop drinking his Kool-Aid.
Hey, you're entitled to your opinion, Sean. But yeah, I don't think that there's anything wrong with what you're saying about. I don't know if you picked Matt Schaub. Matt Schaub was just there
I
for
think
the
so too.
Texans. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mullins is just a backup. I think he likes his brain. Cousins, that's what they really wanted. They had RG3 thrown on them. They did pass on Tom Brady. But to be fair, Sean, and anybody else, for the people that were ahead of this, because right after the Super Bowl, there was a chance to get Tom Brady. If you were ahead of this and you said, yes, bring in Tom Brady, I hear you. But I am going to take my L, and I want to take it gracefully. I said, no, it's 2019, right? I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo is only going to get better with another year. Tom Brady's coming off his worst season with the New England Patriots. Stick with your guy. Boy, am I a dumbass. And thank God I don't have to run the team. But, I don't get the thought process. So sometimes when people are like, oh, he passed on Brady. Well, let's dig up those tweets from the end of 2019, early 2020. Were you one of those people that said, well, Jimmy Garoppolo's going to grow. He's going to get another year in the
Yeah,
offense.
that's what I said
They've got
too.
other pieces. Yeah. So don't necessarily go all like, man, I wanted Tom Brady. If you
Yeah.
did, good for you. If you did, good for you.
Revisionist history plans,
Right.
it fits the narrative of they should have
Yeah.
gone after Tom
Right.
Brady. We all thought
If
Tom
you
Brady was this close from falling off a cliff,
right.
not winning more Super Bowls.
Right. Exactly. If you did, good on you, man.
Yeah.
Great on you. But
Tip your
I
cap.
think a lot of the people were of the impression, well, give Jimmy another year. He's fully healthy. He can only get better. And I don't think that's a flawed way of looking at it. But it wasn't the slam dunk at the time, if I remember correctly, on social media, to where people were like, yeah, especially when you look at how Tom Brady played down the stretch. I mean, he got bounced by Ryan Tannehill in Foxborough. There was big whispers of his demise, big whispers. But, Tom Brady's going to play till he's 52 now that he doesn't have to worry about a wife.
I thought it was funny when Sean brought up Kirk Cousins, because I'll give you a little trade secret. When I get really upset, I start typing out tweets, and instead of hitting send, I hit the draft, because I'm just like, I just need to get it out, and I'm just gonna hit it to drafts and just kind of flush it from the system.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want to get it penned up in the cranium, because sometimes I get frustrated, I get emotional, I just want to tweet some outlandish stuff, and I'm like, all right, I gotta chill a little bit. But I'm gonna pull up this one that I have in the drafts, because I really wanted to put this out. I should have, but I put up, I don't know if you can see it, I blame Kirk Cousins for the 49ers offensive struggles, because
should have let that cook.
When you go back, man, like when you go back to that 2017 NFL draft, because when you start getting into revisionist history, where do you start? At the beginning. Mm-hmm. The beginning is Solomon Thomas at 3. The beginning is John Lynch in an article out loud to the media saying, I told Kyle, maybe we should look at this Patrick Mahomes guy. And then you had Deshaun Watson. Of course, we know what Deshaun Watson's been up to. So maybe that's not as bad of a thing as we originally thought. But again, like, there's just so much, man. Mm-hmm. When we start questioning Kyle, we start looking at his history. It's
the chest
wild,
lit, man. The chest lit, man. No, and that's true, right?
They've been waiting for a state of the franchise, man.
Right, so it's funny, right? And Coach even made a joke. Well, I told Christian that we were gonna wait 5 years and bring him back. When we had a chance to draft him, that's funny.
I didn't find that. I didn't think.
Yeah, I was like, Kyle, you telling jokes now? Is that what we do?
We had to build the defense first before. I was like. It's like, Kyle, that's not funny, man.
It's like, I was like, come on, man, not cool, bro. Like, don't even make jokes like that. That's
you just ripped the scab off, man. It was healing. It was looking nice. You weren't really able to know. You just ripped that thing off, man.
I should have quote tweeted it with the Joaquin Phoenix holding the joke book in Joker, like telling the joke. Like, yeah, that's how funny that joke was. Thanks a lot, guy. But yeah, look, they had a plan. They wanted to build from the trenches. That's fine. He thought he was going to get Kirk Cousins. All that goes apart. Then they pivot to Jimmy. So, look, maybe one day, Brad, when Kyle Shanahan's legacy is complete with the San Francisco 49ers, do we completely deep dive this and talk
hell yes.
all the way through it all?
We'll go straight revisionist history,
right.
what moves should have been made, where they made mistakes,
There's what if time. Yeah.
I was just gonna say why, because like you said, it would be he wouldn't be here anymore, so it would be to discuss why he's not here anymore.
There's what if timelines that have the 49ers beating the Chiefs and Jimmy Garoppolo getting an extension, and now Trey Lance is never in the fold. There's what-if timelines if Patrick Mahomes is drafted by the San Francisco 49ers, and what would happen there. There's literally branches in the timeline. My nerds, like, unite with me here. Like, there's literally other stories that can be told. Tom
There's
Brady comes in.
multiverses here.
There's multiverses where the 49ers have won 7, 8, and 9 already at this point. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is, at this point. But I think that's what makes all this conversation fun, because, while you can look right now, and again, hindsight's always 2020. You have to put yourself in the shoes of what he was thinking at the time, which deserves criticism, which is fair, and you deserve to criticize it. So yeah.
And that's what we do. We hop back in the time machine, and we're like, man, maybe you should have done this a little bit different. Maybe you shouldn't have taken Joe Williams or CJ Beathard, and maybe your plan shouldn't have been to go after Kirk Cousins. But again, that's an episode for another day. We have Boxing Fan saying Sean Payton to the 49ers. I think you already called your shot. He's going to
Dallas,
which
once Mike McCarthy flames out in the playoffs, whenever that is, take your PFF Elite subscription, get out of the building. They'll send 2 picks to the New Orleans Saints for his rights, and he'll be right there. It's literally the prodigal son returns. Bill Parcells understudy, all of that. It works too well, and then he'll be handed a loaded roster, and they'll be given the keys to that defense. Team. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I don't think Kyle is going to be any. I think it would take an unmitigated disaster for Kyle to get fired this year, which is a realm of possibility, but I think the percentage chance is really small.
Yeah. And the thing is everyone was excited about Trey Lance being drafted because of the prospects of working with Kyle Shanahan.
Everyone said it was the best landing spot in the NFL.
Right. Now I would ask you, people that want Kyle Shanahan fired, you want to get rid of him, and you have to hope that the next regime likes him, and then you have to hope that those guys can get the most out of him. I don't think he's going anywhere until you at least get a full season with Trey Lance. And I think that Brad's right. The only way this becomes a loud conversation is if not only the 49ers don't make the playoffs, they completely bomb out the rest of the season, where like they come out of the bye, they get smoked by the Chargers, they go to Mexico City and get worked by the Cardinals, and they lose a bunch of games. Then the door opens.
Last
to that
in the NFC West.
Right. There's the discussion, right? That'll be the discussion. But, you allowed Kyle Shanahan to move heaven and earth to get Trey Lance, and you're not even going to let him stick around for a year of health to get it done. I find that a little hard to believe. That's all.
Yeah. And, I've seen it on Twitter. People are talking about Ken Dorsey. Bring Ken Dorsey back. He developed Josh Allen, like all that type of stuff.
Dude. All right. I don't want to pile on anybody, but Ken Dorsey developed Josh Allen? What? Oh my God,
Darboh
guys.
Gets no credit?
Dabble gets no credit. Jordan Palmer gets no credit. Like, what are we looking at here? It's
Jordan Palmer deserves a lot of credit.
Look. I get it. Right now, the Bills have a great offense, right? So it's easy to look at Ken Dorsey and say, well, maybe bring him in. You know what's funny about that, Brad? The last time the 49ers went for a hot offensive coordinator and made him the head coach, his name was Kyle Shanahan. Oh, funny how that works. The problem is this. When you see a tweet that comes across that says, I want Ken Dorsey because he helped build up Josh Allen and develop him, I literally had to say, okay, that's enough for today. I'm going to put my phone away and go take a nap. No, and not at all. He was the quarterback coach, but Jordan Palmer and Brian Dabble, the reason that Brian Dabble is over in New York, and look at what he's doing with Daniel Jones, by the way, is because of what he did with Josh Allen. If Ken Dorsey developed Josh Allen, Ken Dorsey would have been the Giants coach. Where did we get this from? Why is it that people throw out names and then they just run with these bogus narratives? It's not even an opinion. And it shouldn't even be discussed.
It's kind of the same concept of everyone thinking that if you're a spawn of the Belichick tree, you're just automatically going to be successful in almost every coach that has come off the Belichick tree has failed miserably. In the list, with Mike McDaniels gets a second run and not so hot right now, or whatever his name is, with the Oakland Raiders. So
Oh,
again,
McDaniels.
McDaniel. There you go.
Well, it's
Um,
it's a long list. It's Charlie Weiss. It's
Weiss.
Romeo Cornell. It's
Yep.
Mike. It's McDaniel.
Patricia.
It's Patricia. It's Joe Judge. Literally the whole gang.
And the former Texans coach who started off hot but
He's
flamed out.
actually all right. We make fun
He
of
did.
him. We make fun of Bill O'Brien. We make fun of Bill O'Brien, the general manager, not the coach, because I think people forget
he
won.
That.
He won games.
I had a lot of respect for Bill O'Brien, the coach. Is when he's trading D-Hop away and doing that type of stuff where it's like, oh,
that's what I'm saying. It's you make fun of Bill O'Brien, the general manager, not the coach. So that one, it's like you almost forgot that when they had Brian Hoyer for some of those years. That's funny that we have to bring up his name. They won like 9 and 10 games somehow, and that is impressive in itself. So yeah, Mike Vrabel and Bill O'Brien are probably the two that you could say have been successful in some way. But even Vrabel's acting is coming out a little thin right now at this point. And I don't know if they have a good plan in place at quarterback moving forward, even though I love Malik.
Absolutely. Crusher says, although Matt Ryan hasn't been the best with the Colts, I feel like reuniting him with Kyle will benefit both of them in the short-term future. Maybe not. He carries a hell of a big cap hit, though. And I don't think that is a feasible destination. But what's
even worse than that? Even worse than that, two things. One, his arm is shot. Everything looks hard, right? Like to get the ball, even if it's like a 5 or 6, it looks hard. Another thing is, did you guys forget Matt Ryan and Kyle don't even like each other like that?
Why doesn't Kyle get along with his players?
Why is that? Let's bring it back. Why is that? But I think people forget that Matt Ryan talked about at length. The genius, all that stuff. I love the plays, but they never really got along. They didn't get along. So you at this point in Matt Ryan's career and with the way that he is, not to like single you out or anything like that. Thank you for the donation. It's just nah. I'm good.
It's rite of passage. If you're going to be on Kyle's good side, you have to go through the doghouse. I don't believe there's any other way. You have to somehow be able to take the barrage from him to be able to like earn the respect to then where he's like, all right, you're good now. We're on the same level. But I think it takes a lot for players to actually get to that point. And again, that's diving into something that we are just purely speculating on. Again, I have no idea because I'm not in the building and I'm not seeing how he coaches it up. It's what it feels like. And when you hear all the things, so I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but we got a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about the Rams, but it's kind of the same. We know what the Rams are, right? It's a game they should win. They should win. Doesn't mean they will win it, but they should win it. And we all know, I think I texted you earlier, it's going to be freaking Armageddon around here if they lose 3 games in a row going into the bye. It's going to be, and against the Rams, who, again, you should beat.
Let me tell you something, and I'll tell you what I told Brad, and we usually don't talk about what we talk about on the air in our text messages. Either way, win or lose, that bye week, I am taking the entire week off.
Me too. No state of the franchise.
No state of the franchise.
Call it now. Might be 2 weeks in a row because I might double dip that week and take off the bye week and that beginning first part of the next week.
What I plan to do on that bye week is I am gonna go walk in the meadow. I am gonna go pick some flowers. I'm gonna go enjoy my birthday week, and I am going to stay completely away from but it'll be much easier to stay away from this team if they find a way to get it done on Sunday, in which I expect them to. I think that it all goes back to what we were talking about earlier with Christian McCaffrey, when he's the shot in the arm that Deebo Samuel was when he adjusted and he became the wide back. And that's where the explosive plays are going to have to come from horizontal throwing. It's not going to come from downfield, okay? I think we know that. I'm not here to argue that. But getting Christian McCaffrey in space in the limited time that I saw him, watching the tape was a joy, at least for him, because he still looked like that he's got it. He still looks like a guy who can efficiently, doesn't have to be 25, 27 touches like he did in Carolina, right? Because that's how you get injured. But a clean 15 to 18 in the right situation with the right matchup, get him lined up on a linebacker and have Jimmy be able to hit him with a slant and let him work, he might be the shot in the arm that can take this team to 4-4. 4-4 going into the bye is a hell of a win, in my opinion.
Absolutely, and they got to get it done. And we talked about it last week. You said this week was the must-win game. They got to win in division. They got to take care of the Rams. They got to sweep the Rams. They got to take care of the Cardinals, and they got to take care of the Seahawks. Because again, any given Sunday with this team feels like anything can happen. So at least control what you can control in your division. They should beat this Rams team. Their offensive line is decimated. It's a recipe for disaster for any offense. Doesn't matter who you are. They're going to get Van Jefferson back. He's not going to be the spoon that stirs the pot or whatever. Like, he's not going to really elevate them to. Yeah, he's not. He's going to add a element, but he's not going to change the complexion of the offense. Still having issues with running back. Cam Akers is not it for them. Henderson isn't doing enough. I don't think so.
Stafford's still banged up. I don't think he's 100% healthy.
Exactly.
It can't be. I'm saying it can't be, but it will be. It can't be Cooper Kupp 14 for 140 yards.
Will be.
No, I know.
Over under 14 catches for Cooper Kupp.
Man, over. And my thing is, if Cooper Kupp ends up with 15 catches but only 156 yards, you did your job. You did your job, because you're not allowing him to run further. If you're getting on him and you're knocking him down, that's fine. Allen Robinson's been largely a ghost, but maybe Van Jefferson gives them just an added, dimension where you have to worry about somebody over the top, because they don't have that right now. So, but again, the Rams are trying to figure it out, and they haven't exactly been dominant out of the bye. I believe they're 1-2 out of the bye the last 3 weeks. That's what had me so worried about the Chiefs game. Andy Reid doesn't lose back-to-back games. That record is disgusting, and I almost prefer that they would have won against the Bills. So, maybe they would just be like, oh, we're all right. They were, locked in. And that was the problem.
They knew they needed to win that game.
But yeah, Kupp's going to get his. Allen Robinson's struggling to separate. They're not running the ball. They're getting their center back, but Joe Noteboom is a big loss, right? They're largely patching up.
And he was still underperforming at the most part.
Right. So, yeah, and then, Tyler Higbee is second in targets, and he's a fine player, but he's not dynamic. Right? He'll catch the pass, and if he doesn't have room to run, he's not going to outrun anybody. It all boils down to being very, very disciplined, playing your gaps, trusting your keys, trusting what your defensive coordinator is telling you, and wrapping up and tackling. I have seen too many missed tackles, missed assignments. Everybody needs to play sharp. And if they play sharp, I feel like we're saying this every week, play sharp, play your game. Very few teams can beat you. There's my spiel.
And it comes down to exactly what you said. The measure of greatness in the NFL is consistency. Everyone's supremely talented. That's not the problem. It's, can you execute consistently at a consistent level per expectation? And right now, it's let's call it what it is. The 49ers just aren't doing it. So hopefully that trend changes against the Rams. Again, we know what the book is on the Rams. We don't have to go too deep on them. Already beat them this year at Levi's. Should be something similar, but again, you never freaking know with this team. They're always going to keep us on the edge of our seats. And so going into this week against the Rams, I think we all believe they should win. But after coming out of that Kansas City game, I think the expectations of a win are tempered a bit. Would you say that's accurate?
Absolutely. There's no way that you walk into this game saying, oh, I'm absolutely 100% certain the 49ers are going to do this. Styles make fights. We can analyze it the best we can. This is a very familiar opponent. But you really can't walk, because you don't know what team is going to walk through the door. I wouldn't be shocked if this team comes out and they play disciplined football. They do everything that we thought they would. They put this one away. I wouldn't be shocked if we're sitting here scratching our heads again at the end of the game saying, what the hell was that? So, I mean, we
should have won this game.
Right. That's just
opportunities were there.
That's just what this team is as of right now, until they show me the level of consistency, not only week to week, but drive to drive offensively. I can't necessarily get on board and just say they're about to wipe this team or they're about to do that. Right now is what it is, man. You can only say the one thing that the 49ers have consistently done is being consistent.
Gosh, it's so true, but it hurts so bad. We got one last super chat coming
Mhm,
in. This looks like a Jason Aponte question.
mhm. Um,
WH, the Giants get Aaron
when the
Judge.
Giants get Aaron Judge, will you
Okay,
come home? Hey,
thank you.
you know, the San Francisco Giants opening day, you know who they play? The New York Yankees in the Bronx of New York. What set the stage, man? Hey, good for him, man. If he goes and he wants to get out of here, fans were booing him. Screw the Yankee fans sometimes, man. They
Were
have no
they?
idea what they're talking about. Yeah, they were. It wasn't the whole fan base, or anything like that, but there was a
Is it
smattering of
because
boos.
they feel like he's going to be leaving in
No, he
free
just was
agency?
striking out a ton, but I mean, look, they're
Yeah.
not in that playoff without him. So yeah, if he becomes a Giant, good man. I hope he's the first one who puts it in McCovey Cove into right field, and I hope that he's happy being home. I'll be happy for the Giants. I mean, it is what it is. I don't get wrapped up in players leaving my teams anymore because do what's best for you. Who gives a shit what I think? Like
It's
screw.
a
Like
business.
I hate to say it, screw the fans. Do whatever helps you, and do whatever you feel is right for you. That's it. So yeah.
Screw me and my emotions. Go chase the bag. It's all good. We
Yeah.
understand.
And I can't leave the Yankees. I'll just have to sit and wallow. But it's so funny that the opening day game is the San Francisco Giants coming to the Yankees stadium. So I think Andrew and Jordan are already like locked in to come down here, and I'll take them to their first Yankee game. But that would be quite the story, huh?
It sounds like that would be wild. It would be an
Yeah.
injection for the Giants fan base, that's for sure, because
Yeah.
they need something to get excited about over here in San Francisco, but we need something to get excited about the San Francisco 49ers. And hopefully that's this week heading into the bye. They need a win in the worst way. Hey, Jason, I feel like we've been here before.
Oh
So it's
yeah.
nothing new for us. Um, it's nothing new for the 49ers either. So they got a lot to prove. They got a lot to take care of. They got a lot of business to take care of, as they say, against the Rams. And so hopefully they end up on the right side of it and not the wrong. Again, this might be the last state of the franchise, maybe until maybe heading into the Chargers. I don't know.
Chargers is
We'll
Monday Night
see.
Football.
Yeah.
So
So we'll see.
here's your silver lining, guys. Here's your silver lining. 2 straight Sundays of football for you where the 49ers can't lose.
We need that.
Yeah.
We need that.
Oh yeah.
Appreciate all you guys as always tapping in. The chat was electric today. Make
Mhm.
sure you tap into both channels, like and subscribe to both. Hit the noti bells. Where can they find more of your work? Because I know you're working out there,
Oh yeah.
Aponte.
Yeah, right here on Twitter, Jason Aponte 2103. And yeah, subscribe to the YouTube channel. 7.1 subscribers, man. Shout out to you guys, man, for doing
Oh,
that. And also catch me tomorrow morning on the morning roast, 8:30 your
let's
time.
go.
8:30 your time, 11:30 my time. I'll be on there talking 49ers with Bonta and Shasky.
Oh boy, I know you're going to bring the heat as always. I'll also watch them on the YouTube channel because they're
Mhm.
going to be able to see that pretty face up there. So, going to be a long week. If they win, don't win, doesn't matter. 49er fans, we're kind of going through it a little bit, but hopefully the win this Sunday corrects it all. And we
Yeah.
can go into our bye week where Jason and I, regardless, are going to go off and unplug a little bit. Hopefully we're unplugging with the win. So that's what it is. That's what I hope. But appreciate all you guys as always for tapping in. Sub to both channels. We are out. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to